If you've been to the mall recently, I'm sure you've noticed that everyone is coming down with holiday fever. The lines are more tangled than a box of Christmas lights, and there's no such thing as a quick trip. Luckily, 1-800-Flowers.com makes finding the perfect gift a joyous occasion. Skipping lines and hitting 1-800-Flowers is my holiday answer. And right now, 1-800-Flowers is giving my listeners a special 24 for 24 offer. 24 holiday lights roses for $24. It's only $1 a rose. 24 holiday light roses are the perfect way to give a holiday surprise to that special person on your list. These beautiful bouquets of 24 roses in a rush of Christmas light tones will leave your loved ones stunned without spending a fortune. It's the best of both worlds. Holiday roses at an unbeatable price. These gorgeous roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. 24 holiday lights roses for only $24. Unreal deal, but it expires Wednesday. When it comes to meaningful holiday moments, trust in the quality bouquets of 1-800-Flowers.com. To order 24 holiday lights roses for only $24, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. Hurry, though. Offer ends Wednesday, so get yours now.
With the Citi Double Cash Card, you get 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. That's like the joy of discovering the last donut.
Ooh.
And it has your name on it, literally, in chocolate sprinkly things.
No way.
Double the love with the Citi Double Cash Card. Apply now at Citi.com/doublecash.
Here's what we're doing here. Yeah. Russia basically has been kicked out of the Olympics.
Correct. However, the elite, the athletes can still go.
The country has been kicked out.
The country's kicked out. The athletes can still go. We'll get into this a little more, but the athletes can still go, but they can't represent Russia, and they can't raise the Russian flag or play the Russian anthem if they're a gold medal winner. So we decided to expand this a little bit and say, forget the national anthems being played when you win a gold. What song would you choose to be played if you won a gold medal? If you could do like the baseball players get their own walkout music, right. You get your own gold medal music. So at Golic and Wingo, that's our show handle, at Wingo's, Wingo with a Z at the end, at ESPN Golic, at MGolicJR57 to get all of us, and we'll be reading these all morning. So we're getting some really good ones on just why you would play the certain song. One of the latest ones was, hey, you're going to be up there for a few minutes, so Stairway to Heaven.
Nice.
Yeah.
Or American
Pie.
Yeah.
Denied.
What Freebird? Any 9-minute song, This is my moment. I'm sticking with it.
Okay. That's the song you would have put on. Remember the Olympics last time around when or maybe in the World Cup when Giselle did that long walk across the stadium that took forever? You could have played Freebird back-to-back 5 times over, and she would have still been walking.
You're right.
That was the most impressive thing we saw.
Summer of 2016, the Rio Summer Olympics.
That's it.
Yeah. So hit us up. Some of these, again, I got to give Lisa credit again. I'd have to use the theme song from Game of Thrones. If I can't compete for the USA, then I'm repping Westeros. That's good.
That is really, very, very good.
Really good. Shut Up and Dance by Ethan. That was also a good one. But I would go for the longest song possible. This is my moment.
My moment.
I can't tell if, what would you go for?
Well, if it's a longer song, I'd do Freebird.
Yeah, there's no question about it.
I love Freebird.
But what's the reaction you're trying to elicit? Like, I can't decide if I want to get the crowd hype with me, or if I want to make everyone pull back with that sting face. Like, oh,
that's the thing.
He just dropped something sick on us.
That's
the
thing. Do you want everybody to kind of move along with you, or I think I would kind of want to get evereverybody involved.
Yeah,
and play that kind of a song.
You want to get somebody that gets everybody doing the hey,
the wave.
Yeah, no. This isn't the 84 games.
Yeah, sorry.
Never
mind.
It's the 2017 games.
My bad.
So, again, keep those things coming on the Twitter feed at Golic and Wingo, and we'll have them throughout the show. We're also trying to figure out what our last meal would be. I did love the clip we just played where you did say, and kudos to you, Junior, for pointing it out. The question was, if you could eat one sandwich, what would it be? You said peanut butter and jelly or a bowl of cereal. And I'm not sure how much big the bread would need to be to put the bowl of cereal into a sandwich.
A lot of years of this, there's a lot of misspeaking, and that was one of them.
Correct.
I also enjoyed Mike Golic Sr., big bologna sandwich guy.
Why you gotta peel that one back? It's been a while since I've had a bologna sandwich, but I used to have a lot of them.
Really?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
You actually used to have bologna sandwiches on a consistent basis.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Especially growing up, your grandmother had bologna all the time, and even when I was out of there and married, I ate bologna sandwiches. Absolutely,
you ate bologna sandwiches post mom entering your life.
You ask your mother. If there was bologna in the house, if I had bologna sandwiches.
Fun times. We'll do that later.
Sorry, where are we?
Let's say focus.
Where are we right
focus,
now? My bad.
Focus.
I'm leaving, don't worry.
Okay, Jon Gruden will join us in a couple of minutes, but we do have sort of an interesting dynamic now in the NBA. Remember, the Cavs got off to that horrible start. What's wrong with Cleveland? They can't do it. They're tired. LeBron James is the only one. Yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. They're going for their 13th straight win tonight.
Yes, they are.
Meanwhile, the Warriors, who have already lost 6 games, they're at the Hornets, and they're going to be without Steph Curry for at least 2 weeks now because of the sprained right ankle. They're hopeful he'll get back for that Christmas Day game on ABC against the Cavs, and the Warriors-Hornets game will be on ESPN tonight. So right now, who do you feel better about? Do you feel better about the Warriors? Do you feel better about the Cavs? Or do you feel better about maybe the Celtics or the Rockets?
Well, no, I always feel better about the Warriors. They're just so deep. I mean, okay, last year, remember when Kevin Durant hyperextended his knee? We're like, oh, my God. Yeah. Okay, what if he's done for the year?
And they weren't.
And he came back, became the MVP of the finals. But even without him, they were winning. Now, I know with Steph Curry, as of late, they haven't been so much, but they're just so damn deep. I don't worry about them. I worry about the Cavaliers and their age and being able to make it through the season and then the playoffs. I like what the Celtics are doing, but I think at the end Cleveland will overtake them, and I can't think of another team. Are we downplaying the Rockets at this point, who have the best record in the West? But of the teams you mentioned, Trey, I would definitely say I would worry least about the Warriors.
Yeah, the Warriors are like an 8-legged deer. You have to hack off so many legs before you're going to affect its ability to run. Like, you can take away so many of the good pieces. Hold on. What I say?
How did that analogy? How did the idea of an 8-legged deer come into that dome? I want to know how you got there.
How many legs does a deer have?
4.
So how many legs, in theory, does a deer need to run?
4.
All right, so 8 would be rather superfluous.
Right, but if you cut off 4 of the 8 legs, would it bleed to death?
No, I mean, you assume you cauterize the wounds and do the right thing surgically.
You're going through this
I'm not saying
process.
You remove this in some inhumane way. There can be surgery involved in here. I would provide the deer with anesthetic. I'm not a monster.
Yes, nothing says humane like cutting off 4 legs of an 8-legged deer.
The point is, the deer.
What is the point?
The deer can still run.
I actually get your point.
Golden State is so loaded with weapons that we saw. You take Kevin Durant out, and we joked last year, that's still the team that won 73 games without him.
Yeah.
So you can remove all of that because they've kept that core so largely intact, including the ancillary pieces.
I get his point, but
it doesn't matter. 8-legged deer.
I get his point, but the deer would bleed to death.
And on that note, Junior, we say thanks for being here today. We are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, and ESPN Monday Night Football analyst Jon Gruden now joins us, hopefully to not talk about cauterizing deer leg wounds on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line, taking synthetic motor oil to performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil today. John, save us from ourselves. First and foremost, you were front and center for the Monday night game that you didn't like. You were uncomfortable with what you were seeing on the field in terms of the hits and the things that were happening. What about the way that game played out upset you the most?
Well, good morning, guys.
Good morning, John.
That's a harsh question in the morning here to answer right away. But, you know, Trey, the emotions in that game were running very high to start. We knew that. It's a natural rivalry. There's a lot at stake. And the emotions when Ryan Shazier got hurt were incredible on both sides. And let's all pray and hope that he's okay. But the emotions were running very high in that game. And I just want to say I love physical football. I think physical football teams are generally the teams that win big. And both of those teams, the Bengals and Steelers, are very physical, some of the most physical individual players in football. But I'll say this, I think this is a great learning opportunity for everybody that plays football and wants to play football. There are some shots that you just don't need to take. And I think the NFL has done a great job educating people, players, fans, everybody. There are some shots you don't need to take on defenseless players. And you do not lead with your helmet ever. And that's been well, I think, taught. We've emphasized it. You do not lead with your helmet, regardless of the situation. And you never taunt a man that is down. That's just good sportsmanship. So I think those are great lessons for everybody. I was uncomfortable. I worry about players, worry about people, honestly. I played, my dad played, my brother played, and my sons play. And I just didn't like some of those things that happened. I think it's a great learning opportunity. No matter how emotional the game is, you don't do those three things. And I will say this too, Trey, that the Pittsburgh Steelers taught me something too. They have a lot of football character to come back and win a game on the road, down 17, with a fallen teammate. I was really impressed by that.
That what could not agree more with that. I guess in a general sense, John, is this just part of the education now in football? Because we know how fans loved it. We know how players were back in the day, as they say. I mean, the rivalries, the hard hits, the taunting, which whether you ever liked it, or not, had been a big part of the game. Big hits had been part of the game, but now we're learning, because we're learning more and more. We understand what needs to be out of the game a little bit. So is this just more of the maturation process of where we are and how I don't hate to use this word, the new way to play the game, but the more educated way to play the game because of things we've learned?
I don't want to be on a high horse here and be a preacher about this either, Mike. But I think these things that happened in the game have been taught and have been part of the game for a long, long time. You just have to learn there are some shots against defenseless players you just don't take anymore. And this just didn't happen the other night or last week or last year. You just don't need to take them. And you don't lead with your helmet. That's been well taught. Hell, I taught that when I was in high school. And you do not ever taunt a man that is down. But I think these are lessons that we can keep emphasizing and learn from. And fortunately, I should say after the Shazier injury, fortunately none of the men after that got hurt, it appears.
No, you're right, and that certainly with that first drive, it changed the tenor of the game, and we're continuing to follow updates on Shazier, and we're hoping that things continue to improve, and we'll have updates hopefully throughout the day, or maybe at some point later on today on Shazier. But the other part of that game, John, which was interesting, is the way the NFL has decided to sort of hand out some penalties for things that went on in that game. We all saw what Rob Gronkowski did to Tre'Davious White after the play was over, sort of piling his body on top of Tre'Davious in a way that clearly was outside the boundaries of any bang-bang football play that we've been talking about. Yet the same suspension was levied for Gronk that both Juju Smith-Schuster and George Iloka got for sort of those penalties that we've been talking about in the context of what happened Monday night. Those things are two completely different things, though, aren't they?
Well, they are, but they're still penalties, and they're still penalties that we have to get out of football. And you hate to lump every incident in a group, but, John Runyon, Derek Brooks, Troy Vincent, the league office, they have to discipline players, whether it be a fine or a suspension, and they're going to be obviously scrutinized, whatever their opinion ends up being. But I think all those infractions were worthy of a fine, and if they deem it a suspension, then they deem it a suspension. But I think it's great to put all those plays you're talking about on a training reel and make sure that every level of football is clear and concise in their understanding that that's got no place in football, and I think all those players eventually will agree.
Yeah, I think, and that's one thing over time players learn. No matter the sport, if you change something in a sport, players learn to adapt to those things, and you certainly hope that happens here as well. All right, let's go on the field. In another general sense, taking kind of the Giants situation out of it with Eli Manning and where you are as a team and who you're going to play, when you're coaching and you're in a position, though, like the Giants or the Colts or the Browns or the Broncos, teams that are basically out of it with more games to play, you still obviously want to win on the field. But where is the line of a coach that says, and I don't mean just at the quarterback position, even other positions of where you may need or you want to start seeing some other guys get more minutes to see where they are? How much is that weighed?
When you're a team that's struggling, and I've been there before, you still obviously want to go out and win the game. You have a lot of players, you have a lot of people in the organization that are depending on you winning. And you don't have a number of players on your roster like you do in college. It's not like you can start peeling redshirt years off of guys and use them. You've only got 53 men, and you only have so many roster moves that you can make. And you have a number of players that are hurt and aren't practicing, so you really are limited with the amount of guys you can look at. I mean, a lot of these teams only keep 8 or 9 offensive linemen. You only keep 5 receivers. You only keep 4 running backs. So it's not like you have a lot of different players to choose from, but there are opportunities down the stretch to take a good look at some players that perhaps have earned the right to play, and given your circumstances, we should play them to see what we have, because we got to get our ducks in a row for the upcoming season.
Well, look, people are now trying, John, to get their ducks in a row for the playoffs as Monday Night Football analyst Jon Gruden joins us. Next Monday night, New England will play in Miami. We got 4 teams right now, John, that are 10-2. The Vikings, Steelers, Eagles, and Patriots. Which of these 4 teams do you think has separated themselves or has the likelihood to separate themselves from all the others?
Well, I like the 4 teams you just mentioned. Having watching New England here today, they've really improved on defense. Tom Brady's still at the top of his game, and they have 3 running backs that are jokers. They can line them up anywhere on the football field and hurt you. The Pittsburgh Steelers proved a lot to me. Now, it'll be interesting to see what the future holds with Ryan Shazier. Number one, we hope he's well, but number 2, he's not a good player. He's a great player for this team. And in the NFC, what can you say about the battles that are lining up over there? The Philadelphia Eagles lost a tough one on the road. I think that'll get their attention. But to answer your question in a long roundabout way, I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really do.
Hey, John, it's a 4-hour show. You can take as long as you want to answer those questions. All right, we are all good with that.
Along those lines, John, how do you handicap at this point the AFC West? You have a surging team in the Chargers, a falling team in Kansas City, an inconsistent team with the Raiders. So if you're a coach of those teams, how do you play it from now going forward as they all sit there deadlocked?
Well, if we walked into the team meeting the first day of training camp and I said, men, we're going to be in first place, tied for first place on December 1st to start the final 4 games of the week, I think everybody on the team would sign up for that. And all of these teams have had peaks and valleys. I mean, everybody thought the Raiders were going to be a great football team from the very beginning. Everybody thought after week 4 that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to be running the table. And nobody thought the L.A. Chargers, I should say, were going to be where they are after their start. So I think it's going to be exciting. This is a traditional division. These are common rivalries that have been in place for years and years. This is a division that I came from. Chiefs Raiders in Kansas City with first place on the line. I got to see if I can get to that game, number one.
Right.
But when you watch the Chargers, I said this, I think, last week, their defense is so impressive. This pass rush is spectacular, and they are very underrated on that side of the ball. Everybody talks about Rivers, and they should, but the defense has made a tremendous improvement. And when you play defense with Phillip Rivers at quarterback, you can be in a heck of a football team, and I think that's what you're seeing.
Well, look, that tandem rush of Bosa and Ingram is just amazing, and it's given Rivers and Eckler and Keenan Allen's playing Jerry Rice level right now with the amazing things he's done. And it is ironic, John, that the only team ever in the history of the NFL to start 0-4 and make the playoffs were the '92 Chargers, and now this Chargers team started 0-4, and they've got a legitimate chance to do it as well. So obviously you're locked into the NFL season. We get that, but as you and I know, we're all in on the NFL draft. It's one of the most fun nights of the entire year when it all sort of unfolds. Baker Mayfield's probably going to win the Heisman this weekend. The odds are very strong. He hadn't been talked about a lot in terms of the draft and potential in the NFL along the same lines as Darnold or the Joshes, Allen and Rosen, or even Mason Rudolph. How much have you seen of Baker, and what do you think about him transitioning to the NFL?
I haven't seen enough of him to really have a convincing opinion yet. But I will say I saw him against Ohio State. I did see him play against TCU. I've seen him play over the years a little bit here and there because they're in prime time a lot. I just love the makeup of this kid. I think there's a competitive drive in him that's going to separate him. I think he throws the ball extremely well from the pocket and on the move. Like a lot of these up-tempo, no-huddle shotgun quarterbacks, there'll be some transition, but he's got a lot of great things going for him. I can't wait to meet him personally.
As far as your game coming up this Monday, New England and the Miami Dolphins, how do you? We know from the New England side how they approach it, but down in Miami, a team that really is sitting at 5-7 right now, does a coach this week as a spoiler? I mean, you hear about this in other situations of trying to get a player motivated for the game. Is that part of it, to say we can try and you're not going to stop the New England from getting to the playoffs, but to kind of dent them a little bit? Is that a talk that would be this week?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And I don't think if you're a Miami Dolphin, you should have any problem getting up for the New England Patriots. I mean, when you see them come out of your tunnel in your stadium, if the juices don't get going, then something's wrong with you. But certainly you'd like to have a say in not letting them have home field advantage, but you'd also like to say, you know what? We beat Denver last week convincingly, and we beat New England at home in prime time. We're going to show everybody that we aren't dead and we are on the rise here as an organization and a football team. There's plenty to play for.
And probably the most important question, Doug Marrone recently said his go-to post-game meal is a bologna and cheese sandwich that he loves to eat after the game just by himself. Did you have a post-game meal that when you were coaching?
I like that. But what do you say, a bologna sandwich?
Bologna and cheese. Yeah, bologna and cheese.
God, he must be hard to work for, Marrone. Let's just all agree on that. He must have no friends on the staff. If we won a game, I was out having a good time. Believe me, I ate very well after victories.
There you go.
But did you eat anything after a loss?
No.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I went right back to the office. My wife wanted no part of me after a loss.
Probably smart. Well, John, you're always welcome on this show, no matter wins or losses, and we look forward to hearing the call next Monday night when the Patriots travel to Miami. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Have a good one, guys.
Hey, everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Life happens. With ADT, you can feel safe with an ADT starter kit professionally installed for only $49. Call today and install an ADT starter kit that includes security panel, keypad, key fob, entry and motion sensors, and for a limited time, get a camera included and installed at no additional cost. That's a $449 value installed for just $49.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSP, and EasyPay. Activation and early term fees may apply. Certain marks excluded. License available at ADT.com, Florida EF001121, Louisiana F1639.
Herm Edwards will join us in just a little bit, but we've been having a little bit of fun here with what's going on with the Olympics coming up in Pyeongchang, South Korea, that the Russian delegation has been ruled out completely, and so they can still compete as a member of the International Olympic Committee, as a neutral party, but you can't play the Russian anthem or anything like that. So what would your walk-up music be, or your gold medal music be? We've had people tweet us in at Golic and Wingo, and there's been some pretty good ones.
Yeah, and we've expanded that to not just those Russian athletes who can't raise the Russian flag or play the Russian anthem. We're now giving everybody the ability to play whatever song you want.
Correct.
From any country, anywhere, when you win that gold medal, what would your song be? We're getting a lot now from Queen, We Are the Champions, which would seem very, very obvious to do, yeah.
But if you want to get the crowd hyped in, someone mentioned to you what?
YMCA.
Always good.
How about that?
And if you really want to get the crowd amped, it is in South Korea.
Yep.
How about Psy's Gangnam Style?
There you
go.
go
Up there and do that for a while. I'm sure that would get the locals very enthused if that was their walk-up music. By the way, joining us now on Golic and Wingo is a man who needs no walk-up music. He is his own walk-up music. The new head coach at Arizona State University, my road dog, Herm Edwards, joins us in studio giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Rody, first of all, I love you. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. I remember a few years ago, you and I were playing golf somewhere, and you were like, I think I'm done with coaching. I'm happy here, blah, 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 blah. And then a week ago, you told me you felt like you needed to feel the grass under your feet one more time. What changed? What made you want to get back into it?
Young people. I think what motivated me is the fact that the last 8 years, and Mike coached the team last year, the Under Armour game, there's a connection with me with young people. It's more than just football. It's developing young men. And I think, the first thing I always tell young people are, what are your dreams? What are your aspirations in life? I want to help you with that. And I think you can touch people. I'm a football guy. I've always done football. I mean, and when you get your feet on the grass, it's a wonderful feeling because you've done that. And you know this, Mike. Being in the huddle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you miss that. You miss the huddle. You miss all the folks that you deal with in the huddle, whether it's players and coaches, and there's a goal in mind. There's this march that you make, and it starts now actually with recruiting.
Right.
Going into homes and visiting with the parents and telling these young athletes, hey, this is a program that we're trying to build.
What are you saying? So you're now sitting in the living room of an 18-year-old, and his parents are sitting there. And so what is Herm Edwards' speech to that family on why they should come to Arizona State?
Well, it's important for me is what are they trying to accomplish as a student athlete? And all those things are in place. And whatever you are as an athlete, I will make sure that you live up to your potential as an athlete on the one side of it. And hopefully when you leave here, you will graduate. You will be a well-rounded man so you can face the things that are taking place in our world, And we're going to build a program where we understand that the winning is very important. And I think we're going to do it the right way, and they've already done that. They have built a nice foundation there, and it's a place right now where we want to up the ante. We want to be one of those teams in the Pac-12 that is always talked about in that top 3 range. I equated it to this. I said, when you think about Stanford, it seems like regardless of years past, they every year changes and you get new players, but their system and their program is always in the hunt. Right? It's always kind of in the hunt. Maybe it doesn't win the conference championship every year, but they're talked about.
Right.
We want to be one of those teams in that conference, that you talk about, that you guys are talking about. Hey, man, did you see them Sun Devils play? Look at that football team. We want to be one of those that you guys and everyone else is talking about.
Well, listen, I will. I'm going to go buy me some Sun Devil attire.
No, I got you.
All right.
I got you back.
I got it.
No worry for me.
I got you back.
I got a place out there. No worry. And first time I see you out there, I'm going to go 10 minutes from your campus to Hertz Donuts and get you some really good donuts there.
We'll go in there together.
That's exactly right.
Well,
absolutely.
Listen, your press conference on Monday generated a lot of buzz. People were talking about the things. They were excited about the energy. There was one little clip, though, that some people had some concerns about. So let's play that clip right now.
Hold Rubino, Devil's Digest.
Devil's Digest, huh?
Yes, sir.
Where are you located, my man?
Right here in Tempe.
Okay, Devil's Digest. Okay. I'm Catholic now. I'm a Christian. Watch out, them devils. Just saying.
Well,
we're good, brother.
You can see devils all over the place.
I ain't taking it personal.
So that exchange, which I know you were just having
fun. I'm just having fun.
Exactly. Yeah. And the people are all over Twitter. Herm Edwards doesn't know. It's like, come on.
Are you kidding me?
Come on.
I followed that program way before some of these young people. Look, they recruited me.
Yeah.
Frank Kush recruited me to come to Arizona State. They have one of the best logos in football. Are you kidding me?
They do. So along those lines, what people were saying about that, and we know you were messing around with that, but there are those that are saying, okay, he has been talking about football. He works with the Under Armour kids, and he's here at ESPN, but he hasn't been on the field in 9 years. What is your response to those that are saying, is he out of date a little bit for this?
Oh, I'm not out of date. If anything, I'm caught up. I mean, and that's what makes this job so relevant, is the fact that you sit here. I've watched more football games on other programs, on the college level, pro level. I visited colleges. I get it. I've dealt with these young people that are coming out actually getting ready to go to college. I've dealt with the 18, 19-year-old athlete that's about to commit to go to university for the last 8 years. So I'm not out of touch by any stretch of the imagination. It goes back to the old story. One of my mentors was Dick Vermeil. He stayed out 13 years.
Won a Super Bowl.
And came back. He didn't forget how to coach. I mean, look, I'm a people's person. Period.
I can't confirm that.
I can relate to people.
I can't confirm that.
I have 2 young daughters that are 11 and 12. Okay, so look, I bet on me. Always have. I'm betting that I can relate to these players. There's not going to be a problem with that.
No,
at all.
Yeah. Look, you want to see what a people person is, go hang out with Herm in Monterey. You could be invisible. You could do whatever you want behind Herm Edwards because no one would pay attention to you. You could literally do anything you wanted. But Herm, it's a different dynamic now in the college game where we see all these coaches, and I know you're not going to do this, but they get somewhere and then they leave after a year and then they're gone and then the kids have to stay because they've signed this letter that means they're tied to the school no matter what the coach does, but the same rules don't apply to the coaches. Right. What's your take on how that should change, or should it change?
Well, I think you have an obligation, obviously, as a coach, especially when you're committed to these kids and you're telling them you're selling the program. Now, young people have to understand that you don't particularly have to go to the school because of the coach. because coaches leave. And when, you're going to lose coaches. When the head coach leaves, obviously, that's a little bit shocking. The one thing they have to worry about me, I'm not going anywhere. This is my job as long as I can do it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm trying to continue to build on the program that's already been built here. It's going in the right direction. The lifeblood of football, period, is players. How do you draw players to come to this university? There are a lot of great things happening on this campus. And I'm going to be preaching that when I go into these homes.
So I'm going to let you explain it in the terms that how you can relate it to people. But in reading the press release about this, it talked about a different structure, more of like an NFL structure in the athletic department for football than a college structure. So can you kind of elaborate on that and how it's going to be run?
Well, Dr. Crow, who's the president of the university, obviously, and then Ray Anderson is the AD. It's threefold, and I'm the head coach, and everything kind of goes through that channel. We're all on the same page. We'll be well connected as far as what we do, how trying to build this program. It won't be the coach just over here just coaching football. I will always be and look for their guidance in certain areas of how we're going about building the program. And I think it's important. It's just like the NFL. We all have to be on the same page of the type of players we want, the vision we have for the program, especially for the football team, because I'm the football coach. But when you look at the programs there, they have uplifted a lot of programs there. When you think about the basketball program, Bobby Hurley, obviously, third season, now all of a sudden they're one of those top 10, top 15 basketball teams. That's what we want to become.
Well, listen, you bet on you, I'm betting on you.
Yep.
Okay.
Trey, you know me. Whatever I got, I'm giving them.
That's exactly right. Well, look, you're here after you took the job.
Yes.
I mean, you took the job and you're here for your one final week. You're filling a commitment here. So, I think that speaks volumes to what they're getting. And you're not going anywhere. We got another segment with you.
If you've been to the mall recently, I'm sure you've noticed everyone is coming down with holiday fever. Luckily, 1-800-Flowers.com makes finding the perfect gift a joyous occasion. Right now, 1-800-Flowers is giving our listeners a special 24 for 24 offer. 24 holiday lights roses for just $24. That's only $1 per rose. To order 24 holiday lights roses for only $24, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. Hurry, offer ends Wednesday, so order now.
What Trey Tizo is a big thing going on, and I think it's only going to go more. Last year, the two big names, Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey, they skipped their bowl games. Both went in the first round, both producing well. We've already have 4 players that we know of right now, 3 from Texas, and Derwin James, the defensive back from Florida State, has said he's not going to play in the bowl game. There have been reports here and there of still undecided. A guy like Bradley Chubb, one of the top pass rushers from North Carolina State, that possibly may skip the bowl game. What will you say to a player if at Arizona State he comes up and says, "Coach, thanks for everything, but I need to miss this bowl game. I need to get ready for the NFL."
I understand that. I do. They have done what they needed to do for this university, and I just think, as long as they're truthful with me and I know way ahead of time so we can plan for that, that's important. I understand if a young man has a chance to have a career in the National Football League, and let's say he's gone through some injuries. Most of these guys that have not opt to play
were nicked up.
They were nicked up during the season, and that's something to be said, because remember, they're going to go through the process now of workouts, the combine. I mean, that's important to them. So I understand that. So I have no problem with a player that comes up to me and says, "Hey, Coach,
here's my fear of where it could go," because I see more players doing this, and I'm with you. While I don't think I could have done it, I think I would have wanted to play. I can understand the thought process. Now let me take it to where it gets a little more gray. What if with 3 games to go, your team is 2-5, 2-6, and now a player says, "Coach, we're not in it for a conference championship, so we're not really playing for that. I'm thinking of taking off now." I don't know if that will happen. I hope it doesn't, but how about that scenario?
I would advise him not to do that. That is a bad precedent to set for yourself, especially when NFL teams are watching. Because are you going to do the same thing, all of a sudden tap out during the season if you're on one of those teams that's trying to build a program? Let's just say you were at the Cleveland Browns and they're trying to build this program, and you know where you sit, or you're the San Francisco 49ers. Toward the end, I got a little injury. You can play. Coach, I want to wait till next year. That's a bad look. You don't do that. You can't tap out on your teammates.
At some point, football players have to play.
They got to play. That's what you do. You play football.
Yeah, exactly. And the one reason you're going back, at your heart, you're a coach. Coaches need to coach. Herm, there's been a lot of talk about what happened on the Monday night game.
Oh, yeah.
Taking away from the injury to Ryan Shazier, which is a totally separate thing. And we certainly continue to wish the best for the Steelers linebacker. But the chippiness with which that game was played, and some of the fines and penalties that have come out of that, it's hard to sort of equate what Juju Smith-Schuster did with his block and George Iloka did with his hit than the play we saw with Rob Gronkowski.
Exactly.
Yet they all got the same penalty from the NFL. How do you parse that? How do you see those differently?
Well, I just think the first thing you have to try to figure out is who the player is he a repeat offender, and what were his intentions. And that's very difficult because you're looking at a tape. We know it's an emotional game, played with a lot of emotion. And then from there, you got to make a decision. And as we know, everything is captured on television now, and everyone has an opinion which way they view it. And that's where the conversation goes. This is why we're talking about it right now, right? I mean, when things like this happen, conversations start. So I just think according to what side you're on, you're going to take that side. The great thing is the people in the NFL office, if it's Derek Brooks, I know who Derek Brooks is. Mm-hmm. I coach Derek Brooks. He is a level-headed guy. He will do what's right for the best interest of the National Football League. And you can disagree or not, but you know what? He's the guy that gets to make the decisions. And that's okay. I trust Derek Brooks. I really do. I understand where he sits. He's a Hall of Fame player. He gets it, and you leave it at that. You say, hey, you know what? When you put yourself out there for somebody to make a decision and you don't have the ability to do that, you got to live with the results.
For players who have played a long time, and you play a long time to even get to the NFL and then play in the NFL for a number of years, you're kind of set in a certain way you play, and the game has kind of been set a certain way. And while we always talk about players adapt, is this a harder thing? I don't mean the cheap shot after a play. I mean the plays during the play. The crackbacks that aren't really allowed now, and he just catches a little bit of the head, so now it's a flag. Iloka trying to break up the pass, take it out, but now he's hitting too high. Is it hard for players to really get that out of their game?
Well, for some guys that haven't transformed, in other words, that haven't been taught that, now it's starting to be taught at a younger age. Mm-hmm. So the next generation of players that obviously filter through college as well as pro football, they'll be well equipped to deal with this. Some of the other guys, very difficult because as you said, you start learn how to play football at a young age, and there's a certain way you've been taught, and we've all coached certain ways. Well, that has changed dramatically at all levels, which is good for the game because we talk about the protection of the athlete, which is the most important thing. And so I just think the next generation that comes along, it won't be so difficult for them.
So is it hard to ask these guys to be changing what they're doing?
Because your DNA, it's a reaction sport, and it's just I do what I do. It's like hey, me and my road dog, we play a lot of golf, right?
We do.
We're on the driving range, and we got this swing down. Oh man, it's really pretty. And you get on the first tee, it's like, who was the guy? What was that guy?
Yeah, where did that come from?
Right. So, and it's the same way
we got majors
football.
in our bag on the range. Majors in our bag. There's no question about it. Muscle memory is going to be.
That's exactly right.
It's a hard thing to do, it's a hard thing to. It's a hard thing sometimes when you got it good, like you have it here, to realize maybe there's something else that you need to be doing.
Well, there's a calling. It's a calling, Trey, and you know that, and Mike, you know that too, and you've seen me deal with these young guys.
Yes, I have.
That's my passion, man. When you can mold young guys, because I know what they're thinking. I was thinking those same thoughts when I was their age, and coaching is important. Coaching them in to be better men, better husbands, better citizens. That's part of the deal as well as winning.
I see younger players kind of poo-poo the older generation. I see 5-star athletes at that underarm game hang on every word Herm has to say.
I've done it for 9 years, and I'll do it again today on NFL Live.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Herm.
Love you guys, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for being with us. Coming up, did an NFL coach violate an unwritten rule this weekend? We'll delve into that, plus Damian Woody will join us next hour. Golic and Wingo.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.